Hello and welcome to your Friday night podcast here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew, and it's a pleasure to be joined tonight by three of my very favourite podcasters, Andrew, Calvin, and Amrit. Amrit, I'll come to you first. It's been a while since we've done a lot of podcasts together, mate. So how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. Yeah, really well. Thanks. It's been a busy week at work and very productive, which is great. And I get to sit and talk to three of my pals about my favourite subject, which is the Glasgow fucking Rangers.
That's good. That's a swear in the first 30 seconds, lads. That's us already demonetized. So there's only nowhere like that. Only up to go from here. It's good. Calvin, how are you doing, my friend? Pleasure to see you again.
Good. I'm wearing my orange tonight, so I'll let you talk to Andrew about his white top because I thought the orange was better, so I've stuck with it. But I'm good to be back. Friday night delights for the rest of the team, so let's get ready to do some reviewing.
Indeed, there is a reason I'm coming to you last, Andrew, because I don't want to steal all of the Sunday show's agenda. I'm pretty sure this is all they have to talk about unless anything dramatic happens in the next couple of days. So your thoughts, feelings, emotions when it comes to this new white strip. I've seen lots of thoughts and views on it. I'm going to say maybe more skewing towards the negative than the positive. How are you doing with it? Obviously, you didn't hate it enough to not part with 85 quid this morning when you picked it up.
I'm choosing to see this as justice for when I as a kid, was not allowed to buy the kits because we were in the standoff with Sports Direct. So money that I would have thrown down the drain years ago that I didn't is now being used this year. It's all right. I mean, I don't mind the design of it. I think the main thing that's been thrown against it is, I think some people say it's a bit bland. I don't mind that. I don't think that's the main flaw. I mean, it's the badge. There's a bit of material behind this badge, which when you have it hanging up, you can clearly see. But if you're spending the majority of your time in conversation with me staring at my chest, then I think you need your head checked, to be honest. So I think it's passable. But yeah, I have seen those negative reviews as well, Andrew.
The color is the thing that's throwing me off because I thought just like even before the shirt got the strip got leaked, folk were saying in the group chat, what's the story? What's it going to look like? And I joked in the chat that it was going to be a white T-shirt with a Rangers crest on it somewhere, and it's not even that because it's like sort of sour milk color instead. Which
yeah,
I mean,
it's off-white,
it's a choice.
I suppose. It's off-white, which seems to be all the rage these days with designer clothes and things. So this is not we're not suited for showbiz columns in the papers, lads. I'll tell you that for free. So what was he wearing on the red carpet? Clothes. I don't know. Don't ask me. This is your fashion chapter of the podcast. Begun, middle, and ended now.
Mm-hmm. I know Amrit had like a full sermon that he wanted to do on it, but we are not going to do that tonight. I'm going to deny Amrit the opportunity to do that. Instead, what we're going to do, despite what Stevie has been pushing us to do all week, a season review, we're not doing that. As I suggested last week, we're going to do a squad review instead. Now, we're going to do technology and everything here. I'm sharing my screen. It's going to be wonderful. So, Amrit, the way that we're going to work this, folks, is I'm going to go by player to one person in my lovely panel tonight. And if anyone has any vastly differing opinions, so if Amrit says he loves Jack Butland, he would like Jack Butland to stay forever, and then one of you two has got a vastly different opinion to that, then feel free to chip in. But if your thoughts and views are broadly in line with what the person says, don't feel the urge to come in. Maybe this is a conversation we should have had before we came on air. Maybe it's nice for people to see how the sausage is made. Who can say?
It's nice to have explained it to the audience, though. I think
exactly
that's
right.
Thing. This was almost as if we had planned to then say, "Oh, we hadn't planned it." This is good script writing.
Yeah, exactly. 2 hours of prep work went into this, lads. You wouldn't even believe. So
the cue cards are that big. And the font size
that's all I've got.
Just
a big prompts thing behind my my monitor over here. It's very good.
Remember to give Amrit so Amrit can see the player.
Just a reminder of who we have, right? Okay, so Amrit, I am going to come to you first, and I'm going to come to our number one, Jack Butland. So here he is. Here's the very man, the Jack Butland, right here. So, how many games did he play? All 5 of them in the top slick split. Goals conceded, 12. Now that doesn't really look particularly good by itself, just there. Contracted with us until 2027, as we can see there. Yeah, your thoughts, views, feelings about lovely Jack Butland. I'm just going to leave this picture up there.
I've got a lot of respect for Jack Butland as a professional, as a man. I think he's a perfect athlete and professional. I think he had a really tough start to the season because it was almost as if it was just attack versus defence, and he was constantly called upon to keep us in games under the Russell Martin regime, where we were conceding, tens of chances every single game. But unfortunately for Jack is not of the required quality if we have ambitions as a club to win this league. We've got to be able to rely on our goalkeeper in the most challenging and difficult times. And Jack Butland doesn't provide that security for us. His mistakes are catastrophic at times, and they cause huge implications on the trajectory of games and morale. So for me, whilst I like him, this is a cutthroat business, and Jack Butland, for me, it's time to go. He's not of the quality that's required at Rangers. Bye-bye. See ya.
Okay. So fairly definitive there from Amrit. Any dissenting views there from Andrew or Calvin?
No, straight to the point. He's been here, he's done his job, he's made his mistakes like many other players. The squad needs a refresh. So unfortunately for Jack, see you later.
Yeah, it's for me. It's open and shut. I think Jack, much like the way that fullbacks have kind of changed, the way we think back to John Flanagan being at Rangers, being a kind of out and out defending right back, and you compare that to wing backs of football nowadays, where you're expected to go up the park and be a brilliant crosser, a brilliant ball carrier. The game has changed for goalkeepers. You're not just supposed to save shots anymore. You now need to be, a key part of redistribution and getting the ball around the pitch. And I think that's one of the main, attributed flaws that he has is he's when the ball is at his feet, and we've seen that in the last game of the season at Falkirk.
No, fair. So we're not exactly going to change topics drastically here, Calvin. Coming up next on number 31 is Liam Kelly. Now, we've discussed previously that we believe there's a rumoured extension coming down the pipeline. Obviously, we know he's away for the World Cup at the moment as well. Didn't exactly feature a great deal. As you can see from the stats there, 2 appearances in the SFA Cup, which I believe is the Scottish Cup, and 1 appearance in the League Cup, where he conceded 2 goals. So not stellar, but for my money, not exactly on a major wage, and someone I'd probably want to retain, I think.
Yeah, I think that's an easy decision. If you can get Liam Kelly on a new contract, it's a must-do. One, he's a very steady keeper. It reminds me a lot of when Neil Alexander was back up to Alan McGregor. If he was on the park, you can rely on him. One of the opposite things compared to him with Jack Butland is Liam Kelly is very good with the ball at his feet. He's passed out from the back's very good. They can find a player. He doesn't really fall under the pressure. His shot stopper in general is pretty good. We don't see enough of him to see if he can withstand a full season. But as a backup keeper, he's perfect. He comes from the training academy, so very good for European rules. And he's hard to fault. I reckon he'll be one of those guys that is very good in the dressing room as well. He's a solid number 2. He'll get players on side. He understands the club. And there's not really a bad word you can say about Liam Kelly. I think it's just a no-brainer. Tie him up in the contract, 1-2 years, whatever you may be to get him. Enjoy him in the squad, because we need players like that just to keep everything quite steady on the backup positions.
Cool. Any dissenting opinions there?
I agree totally with Calvin on that. I think that Liam's a very capable deputy. I think he's proven it when he's come in to help. And I mean, last season, well, I suppose that's the season before now, isn't it? Really, but you know, when Barry Ferguson was in, Liam Kelly featured. I think he saved that penalty at home against Bilbao, and he played a few games when Jack Butland was, I think, either injured or out of favour. I can't remember which one it was, but you know, he's very capable, a safe set of hands. He's a steady 7 every time he plays, and I think he's a perfect number 2 to have. But we need to get another keeper. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, I'm assuming the same from you, Calvin, as well.
It was my point.
Yes, Calvin. Yes, Calvin. Come on, man. Come
Already off the rails. Already off the
No
rails.
bother, Davey.
Right. Look, come on, calm down. Let's move on. Next up then, Manny Fernandez. For me, definitely one to stay. Andrew?
£50 million, and then he can leave. No, I don't think Rangers will be asking for 50. But I would expect there to be some, attraction from teams. I think there's been a lot of names being thrown about from the mainland Europe and from down south. So maybe he's going to be one where we need to think on our feet and recruit a replacement for him with transfer funds secured from his move. But if there was no deals that we were happy with, by all means, I'd keep him. I think he matured as the season went on. I think it's very difficult to gauge anyone's real performances at the start of the season because it's night and day the way that they looked early in the campaign towards the end. We've seen the best and the worst of every player essentially this year. But I think with game time and experience, he really shone, and I think that resulted in him getting called up for Nigeria, which I think he, on the run of form he had leading up to that call up, was very much the right decision. Yeah, if he's still here next season, I'd be very happy with that.
Cool. Alrighty. Dissenting opinions?
Needs to get in the end of the corners again. No, if Manny came in even though he wasn't a young boy, you could tell he didn't have that experience at a better level. But he grew into it. He probably needs that kind of experienced centre half next to him to help him get through, because you can see he is still learning. He is still picking up loads of mistakes. He is a very casual defender, which sometimes can frustrate a lot of fans. But he is pretty good at it. He is pretty good at taking the ball under pressure and getting away from his man. But as I've said, there's no player in this squad who truly is unsellable. If the right offer comes in for any player, they can go. But for a player like Fernandez, it needs to go way above the value that we'd expect. I think the club are looking for 20+ million just down to his stats that will come into a lot of kind of scouting departments, his physicality, what he can do in the box as well as defending the box. But for me, good first year, but a lot to go as well. He needs to cut out the mistakes as much as he has. But that'll come down to experience and having a steady defence next to him, because we changed it up far too much this year.
Yeah, we're going to go through some of the other names in the defence, and it's a real fun list to run through here. Amrit, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. Manny Fernandez absolutely stays, but let's not kid ourselves here. There will be interest over the summer. I think there will be some offers that perhaps whet the appetite of Rangers, and we will make some considerations around it. I think if we are getting an offer for 25+ million, all of a sudden you're considering selling him at that level. I would think. Whether we want that to happen or not is a separate issue. It's a business decision that the club will make. But I think at 25 million, Rangers are coming to the table for Manny Fernandez, rightly or wrongly. It's up to the fans to decide whether or not they would want it to happen at that level. But I think realistically, commercially, 25 million to flip a player within 12 months, considering what we paid for him, that's a good piece of business on paper. But given the fact that our defence just now is like a tea bag, and we've got a lot of holes in it right now, and we're going to get rid of Manny Fernandez potentially, then all of a sudden you're giving yourself even more work to do in terms of replacements and recruitment and embedding them in the team. So that might not be wise, but time shall tell.
Yeah, that's fair. We're going to move on to the next boy in the team who has obviously renewed his contract with us for another year. Amrit, I'll stick with you on this one. John Souttar then. Obviously, we know he's going to be with us for at least another year, but I mean, is that just holding us over while we I guess, sign other defenders beyond the one we have on the contract right now, or is it a case that you see him as one for the future, perhaps?
You know how Danny Rule spoke about this one's a final and it was the final of the final. John Souttar is the backup to the backup to the backup to the backup in my eyes. I mean, John Souttar should be nowhere near any Rangers team, in my opinion. Not even the women's team. I mean, he should be nowhere near it. Not even the under 15s. For me, John Souttar is a liability, and he will only feature, I believe, when games are done, when it doesn't matter, or when we're at the bare bones. Because at the moment, if you look at our defence, we've got Romans, Fernandez, Souttar, and Sterling. That's effectively the four that we have right now. And Souttar is not of sufficient quality. That back four, to me, would be strong enough if we had a really good centre half besides Fernandez. But then the question is Sterling ever going to stay fit enough to play regularly? So John Souttar, for me, the Scottish quota, great for Europe, experienced defender, good in the changing room perhaps as well. He captained the side a lot, and yes, we're very grateful to him for his time and his service to the club, but John Souttar is not good enough to play for Glasgow Rangers Football Club.
No, I'm kind of in the same boat as you there, Amrit. I think what's striking is when we do look at the stats is how often he featured. 38 appearances total across the season. And as you say, I think in terms of fans' estimations of him, he's fourth choice. If we want to, be realistic about where we see him in the hierarchy. Andrew, Calvin, any strong disagreements there?
No, I think there's something that needs to be remembered. Souttar was brought in to be backup to Goals and Helander, etc. He was never meant to be somebody that was in the starting 11. He was meant to be a player that was in for the quota for the Scottish. We got him in a free transfer at the end of his contract. He had his injury history. We took the gamble. It has improved slightly, those injury terms, but he does tend to kind of go injured at key parts as well. And I think that's the one thing the club should really think about. Souttar was brought in as third or fourth choice. He wasn't here to be the stalwart in the defence. And if you look at his performances for Scotland versus what he plays against us, we dominate the game a lot more. And his passing can be questionable at times. He makes bad decisions. His long ball's fine, but his short passing game's all over the place. And it can really catch us under a lot of pressure. But when he's Scotland, he's a kamikaze defender that's there to block shots. That's what he's good at. He's not going to get the opportunity to do that very much at Rangers, or at least he shouldn't have that opportunity to do at Rangers an awful lot. That's where I stand on it. He's there as a squad player. He's there as one of the Scottish players. He shouldn't be somebody we hang our hat on because he isn't consistent enough to deal with that.
I wouldn't add much more to that, apart from the fact that if you thought we were going to be nice, and if you thought Amrin was all just positivity, you're surely wrong, because that was
No, mate, getting rid of people that aren't good enough to
scathing.
play for our club is very positive because I want the best for the club. I just don't want shite in the building. So that's very positive.
Constructive criticism. Remove the dead wood, promote the good one. That's how it works.
100%.
Yeah, but there's a reason you get people who write these thank you for your service, Rangers thanks such and such for their time, and wishes them all the best. It doesn't go, thank God we get him out the door.
No, I did say that. I'm grateful for his service, of course I am, and I did say that. But then, listen, I'm going to be very honest. This isn't personal. This is what I think is best for the squad and for the team. I'm not having a swipe at anybody, but it's just purely my opinion based on their talent or lack of, in John's case.
You did say it wasn't good enough to play under 15s level, to be fair. It's scathing for a professional footballer.
All right, I'm going to try and move this on to someone I would hope at least we have some more positive views about, and that is our number 25, Tour Romans, only joined us in January. I think probably the standout success of the signings that we made in that January window as well. Certainly the one who's looked like the most reliable, the one who has looked most impressive as well. Still made 27 appearances, so up there with Souttar as well, Andrew. Yeah, thoughts on Tour Romans?
Oh, big guy. I think if it wasn't for players like Maxime de Kuyper at Belgium level and the senior level, who my guess will be starting most of the games at the World Cup for Belgium, he would be straight into that Belgium squad. I think it's a target for him to try and reach, but you're talking about a player who left Belgium and he was a Club Brugge and moved straight to the Prem for Brighton, and Brighton pick a player they know what they're buying, and they have trust and faith, and they can adapt to the Premier League level. So I think it's not the worst player to be setting the bar at. So yeah, I think he's got a challenge ahead of him, but he's definitely talented.
I did realise that I've said that he made 27 appearances. 15 of those weren't with us.
I wasn't going to throw you under the bus, Andrew.
I love when you realise that the cup competition was at the bottom.
The Crocky Cup. That feels like that's got Rangers all over it, man. That should be.
That's just the nickname of the squad because they're always cropped.
Yeah. That's what Via player changing their name to.
So, anyone wanting to chase Romans out of the club, Calvin, Amrit, you want to in the back of him or happy he's staying?
Me and Amrit agree on this. He's Arthur's boy. He stays. He has potential captain over long term. He needs to stay fit, but he came in injured, so that's always hard to kind of break yourself into. Good pre-season under that man, and he'll carry that left-hand side. I think me and Amrit both have spoken about it many times about how much we love him as a player. And the big thing is when he came out the squad, that's when the press died in that team towards the end of the season. So he can be one of those players that really set the tempo. So perfect left back for us, in my opinion, and I'm hoping we can stay fit for the new season.
Yeah, I agree. The guy said it all. I'll be quiet.
All right, we don't want that too much of that, Amrit. Like a little bit, but not too much. Calvin, I'm going to come to you next, just in the interest of keeping it fair and equitable and whatnot. Next up, our only right back currently at the squad, and someone who's been done deeply dirty on their picture on the on transfer market here as well is Dujon Sterling. That's a rough one, man. I mean, yeah, I suppose it could, in theory, be. This is one of the damning stats right here. That's total appearances for the season. Just over 1,000 minutes. And I've checked this. This is definitely only with Rangers as well. So
no Crocky Cup. It could be the Crocky
Cup. Herein lies the argument. So for me, it is one of those things where I do not see us going into this season with him as the first choice right back. If he could stay fit and he could play all 60 of these games, or at least a good percentage of them, absolutely. But historical evidence, I mean, we're on transfer market. I could throw up his injury history, but I don't know if it'll fit on the screen here. So, yeah, it's not. He's not first choice. I think he's a useful squad option to have if we don't need to rely on him. But again, one of those where if he left, I wouldn't be devastated by it.
The problem with me with Sterling as a backup option is Sterling will be on a massive wage.
Yeah,
like the wage he's going to command to have 17 appearances, that's dog shit. It can't happen. I think Sterling's a right back personally. I still think he's a centre half. I think his body can't handle being there's too much running involved in it. There's too much kind of contact. He struggles. If he has a centre back position, he doesn't need to put on those same mileage. But even then, still can't stay fit. 17 appearances for somebody that's on what you'd assume would be 20 plus since he came from the Chelsea kind of academy. It can't happen. The problem is you're going to find it very hard for somebody to come and take Sterling off you because they'll just look at how much he's played and go, no chance. Or you'll need to soak up a massive bit of that wage. It's scary. Like, I like Sterling. I think Sterling's a good player when he's fit and available. But like we've said about many players on the team, they're not available enough, which then relates to, can you afford that wage at that kind of bracket? Probably not, because there could be somebody that could come in and play 40, 50 games for you on that wage that's steady. You can rely upon them. And that's where I'm at with Sterling. Good player, but we do not see enough of him at all.
No, I think that's right. Andrew, Amrit, any strong disagreements there?
I mean, Sterling has been injured more times than Stevie Wonder's big toe. And for me, you cannot build a squad with so much uncertainty. Like, you can't. You can't rely on the guy. What's that? 17 games he's played all season. And yes, everyone goes on about douche, big douche, brilliant. I love all that. And I'm behind him as well when he's fit. Danny Rule said himself at the end of the season that he can't play on plastic pitches. So then all of a sudden you're disqualifying him from those games. And then you've got to wrap him up in cotton wool in the hope that he doesn't ever get injured, which is going to happen. So for me, you bring in a first choice right back and then you use Sterling as your deputy. You cannot and should not rely on Dujon Sterling moving forward. That would be my opinion on Sterling.
Yep. Interesting reactions from the rest of the panel there on your particular phrasing that you used for that one, Amrit. Yeah, again, it's a question of reliability. I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm just going to move past it. I don't believe there's going to be a strong disagreement from Andrew. I'm just going to come to him first for our next player. I think one of the more saleable assets. And again, man, some of these images on Transfer Market are their choices. They're choices. Nico Raskin. Stevie's boy, obviously. Again, a very good player on his day. Questions about how much of a contribution he can make in a midfield that is filled with players who are all very similar to him. But certainly a player who is very talented, going to a very good Belgium squad, ahead of some other notable players from Belgium in our league. And has been a good part of that squad. 50 appearances for us this season says it all. You know, one of the mainstays. So where are you with him, Andrew?
I love Nico. I think he's a real talented player. We've seen him mature and grow, since he's arrived in Glasgow. Lots of low moments under certain managers. I think we all thought when we bring in a Belgian manager that our Belgian midfielder is going to be the lifeblood of our team to lead us into this next era, and it didn't seem to work under Clement. There seemed to be some sort of disconnect or a fallout of sorts. But he certainly shows in those games where he is on it, that he is commanding, he sets the tempo, and he, is the first one to have the shovels and digging us out of holes. Is he committed long term? I don't know. He's away to the World Cup. Massive showcase for him. Part of a very good Belgian squad, as you said. Lots of real talented midfielders in that squad list. Which again, if he is staying with Rangers past next season, will help him and help us in the long run, brushing shoulders with Kevin De Bruyne, Yuri Tielemans, Amadou Onana. That's a great group of guys to be picking up tips and tricks from. But if his long-term future, or even short-term, because we are in the off-season, is away from the club, the Rangers need to be standing firm on a fee, because as we've said, he's a World Cup player and a Belgian international. That has to have some sort of extra value on top of what he actually has brought this season, because there's been lows this season on the field. One of the best players when we were playing the greatest, but one of the quietest players when we were playing really bad. In those kind of senses, and it's strange how he can jump between one to the other. But I don't feel like throwing him under the bus himself solely for that. I feel like when the team's bad, the team's awful, and when the team's brilliant, the team's just winning games and calm and assured. But too far between the two. But I love Nico, and if we can get that 10 out of 10 Nico for the entire season, then he would probably be leading us towards more silverware.
Yeah, I think it is a question of the quality that's around him. Calvin, Amrit, strong disagreements here?
Not really, mate. In terms of Nico, he's a player that we know where his ability is. The problem is it's a World Cup year. He's in a Belgium team. He could be heavily fancied after that. The biggest problem I have with Nico in a Rangers jersey is he thinks he's that man that sits at the back of the three and that's because he does that role for Belgium and he's trying to show that skill off. I don't think that's his best position, but I think if he goes and looks at playing against a De Bruyne, that he doesn't get at the Belgium team doing that. So he needs to be quickly told, as Barry did with him. He pushed him up the park, got him trying to go beyond, and he got some good goals. His running power's good. That should be a box-to-box midfielder, somebody that can go beyond and come back and help. But if he sits at the base as the number 6, he kind of loses his main aspects. I think if we see that, Nico, it's not always ideal. And if the money's right and the contract is coming closer and closer to an end, we don't know about the contract situation, if there's an extension on the table or whether we would take it or not. If the money's right, like every player, we need to consider it. If he is still here, he needs to be that kind of combative midfielder that gets up and down the park and pops up with the goals.
Yeah, I would agree with Calvin. I think it's an interesting point about how deep he's been sitting last season, because that's, like you said, Calvin, that's not his best position. I mean, Diamande can do that. Chukwueze can do that. Barron can do that. We don't need Nico to do that. We need Nico 10, 15, 20 yards up the pitch, carrying the ball, moving forward, playing defence, splitting passes. That's where he really excels. And I understand that Danny Rule had him playing in a certain system, but if we're not going to use Nico Raskin in this coming season where he plays best, then you get rid. As simple as that, I would say. Then you just don't keep him, because he's not going to do anything in his current role that we can't get from another player. You only lose on Nico Raskin when you don't play him in his most forward and attacking position. So I think that's on Danny Rule. I think he needs to recognise where he plays him and get the best out of him. But as a player, as an asset of this club, I think you keep Nico Raskin if you use him correctly. But if a bid for 20, 25 million comes in, 2 years left on his contract, again, that's going to wet the whistle. That's going to get us thinking about whether or not he's worth keeping. Or do you flip him? Paid 3.5 million for him a couple of seasons ago. You flip him for 20, 25. Again, that's good business. But there needs to be suitable replacements. That's the key. You don't just start getting rid of your assets. And then, I mean, we're already down to the bones. So there needs to be some serious considerations about that. I think if you get rid of him, you've got to have someone lined up or in mind.
So similar position to Fernandez in that, we like him, we'd like him to stay, but if he's going, then it should be for big bucks with good replacements coming in. Tochi Chukwueze is up next. Again, some of these pictures, man. Someone who came in the January window, so I think it's unlikely that he's heading out the door this quickly. But Amrit, I'll stay with you initially. For you, Chukwueze, happy to see him continuing in?
Oh, well, do you know what? Chukwueze came in and started really, really well, and then towards the end of the season, he dropped off a little bit, I would say, in terms of his performance. But then so did so many other players in that run-in. So I think it's unfair to single out Chukwueze. I'd like to see more from him. Apparently he can play all across the midfield. That was the narrative that we were sold when we signed him, that he's comfortable playing further up the field in an 8, he's comfortable in a 6 on the left or on the right, all these kind of things. But we've not seen much versatility from him just yet. I think there is a player there. I think he's got the attributes, but they're all just very, very similar. There's just all much of a muchness in there just now. There's no variety in our midfield. Like I made mention of Raskin and Dio and Chucky and Barron. They're all very, very similar type of players. So I think we judge Chukwueze on next season. I think we give him a season because he came in halfway through. Not an ideal for any player to come into a club and excel. So I think you give him a pre-season. He knows the Scottish game a little bit better now. He's had those 6 months or so. So I would keep, purely because we've invested money in him, and I think Danny Rule and the recruiters obviously believe in him. So let's give him an opportunity to show us what he can do.
Yeah, for me, one of those players who looks like he gets it in terms of the physicality of the Scottish Premier League. I cannot say that for all of our signings, even this season, just gone. So for me, a keep for sure. Andrew, Calvin, disagreements?
I like him. I've watched him a few times. I think he's a very, very good player. I noticed that Thomas said in the chat it was a long season for him to come in the middle. Totally right. 2 different styles of football. Came in the middle, came in at a good time, but then went through a bad time just like the rest of the team. But I watched an interview with Max Johnson, who played with him at Sturm Graz, and he raved about him. he said he had absolutely everything as a midfielder, and we've seen bits and bobs of it. Hopefully that can come together in the new season. He compared it a bit of a Pogba style where he can get up and down, he can shoot for distance, he can get in your face. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be like Paul Pogba, but if he has some attributes that can give us that in the midfield, that he can be a box-to-box midfielder, he can sit in if he needs to. His passing was tidy. He was very good at retrieving the ball. I mean, was it Hibs away or something? Where he was very good and he won pretty much every 50-50 he went into. It was one of those types of games. I like him and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the new season. I think he could be a real stalwart in this midfield.
Good stuff.
The upside's there. I think there is potential. I think with the right development, the right partnerships, we can really see the best out of him. I think as Calvin and we've seen in the comments along the season, contribute to some of the things that I wasn't happy with towards the end of the year, where maybe the game's just passing him by a wee bit because he is already overworked. He's just had a long season on the legs. Or just as I mentioned previously with Nico, when we play bad as a team, it's just everybody looks bad. So it was very difficult in those games towards the end of the season where those good performances when he immediately came in the door started to slip a wee bit. There's definitely reasons for it. So yeah, I'm not rushing Tochi out the door by any chance. Benny, shout of that, no chance. I like him here for the long term, and with the right development, as I said, we could have another full-time international who wants to have a long career for Denmark, because he certainly has shown in those good games that he's a real challenge for opposition to deal with.
Okay, so moving on to, again, another one of our defensive midfielders, because we've got like 12 of them, Connor Barron. Calvin, I'm going to come to you on Connor. So I think his season was unfortunately marred by that injury that he got. Took him out at a period where he looked like he was showing some really good form. Still made 37 appearances for us, so still did better than Dujon Sterling, for instance. Did contribute, has looked very effective there. Definitely a solid defensive midfielder for me, and Scottish quota goes along with that. Would be someone I'd be looking to keep.
Yeah, like Connor, I'm probably in the fence of whether I think he is a long-term starting 11 player. Being controversial, but I struggle to see it. I think he's a very good player that you could put in at any moment. It's hard to say because he was a standout for a lot of the season, but that was down to so many other players not pulling their weight. I think if you look at Nico, Diamande, Chukawani, they probably are that level above him, but he's shown it, he wanted it more. And like we've said many, many times, a lot of the time being a Ranger is willing to take the ball and make things happen, and he does that. So it's a harsh one. He's definitely, for me, somebody that should remain in the squad. He is a good player, but I think if you want to win titles constantly, you probably need to have that level above him at a consistent level. But Barnes shows the attitude that every other player should have, and that's what will probably take him far in the team at Rangers. It's his attitude that will get him there, his willingness to work, and I hope he proves me wrong and shows that he can be a stalwart in the starting 11. But I like the lad, but it's just one of those ones where you can see so many kind of flaws in his game and so many positives. I don't know what the other guys think, but that's kind of where I sit with that one.
No, I think, to your point, Calvin, I think for me, he strikes me very much as that kind of, that's what I want in a squad player. Not someone who you're like, oh, we have to go with him. It's like, oh, well, he'll do a job for us at least. We will know that we'll get effort from him at the very least. Andrew, Amrit, where are you on Connor Barron?
Yeah, I'm very similar to Calvin on that. I like Connor Barron as a professional. Connor Barron is not a good footballer. I mean, let's just understand that. He's not a good footballer, but what he is very industrious. He's very hard-working. He's got a great engine on him. He's got a wonderful attitude as a professional, which is what Calvin alluded to there. So he brings a lot of qualities and virtues that are required. We don't just need talented players. We need players with the right mindset, the right Rangers spirit, and he offers all of that. He's the type of guy that will go to the ends of the earth to get that ball back. He will fight and die on his knees. He'll work his fingers to the bone, and that is the kind of application that you need in a player like Connor Barron. I don't think, in all honesty, that Connor Barron will ever be a starting Rangers player. I think he will always be a squad player, but I think he will be a very good squad player. Good in the building, good on the park, good off it as well. I think he's a great asset to have in a Rangers squad. So Connor Barron for me, 100% you keep him.
Cool.
I like Connor. He's one of my. He's a player I really want to see be a success. I mean, I know a couple of people close to him. I know there's been interest for him away from the club, and I know that there has been a want to stay and extend his stay at Rangers long term. I think he certainly loves it here. He loves the challenge. I think one of these players, I think we've seen at the start of the season, falls into the Nico category where Marcel Martin just not recognising what he had at his disposal. We see the way that Nico was treated, and there was rumblings of something similar with Connor. I know there has been talk of Italy, but I think he won't be the first. He certainly hasn't been the first, and he won't be the last Scottish midfielder that gets that shout. But I'd like to see him stay, because you find with some of these players that, especially with Scott McSauce, Billy G over there, once they go there and have that new challenge, they seem to thrive in it. So my hope is that it won't be the case for Connor, and he'll leave and he'll have his next best step ahead of him. He'll do it in Rangers blue. So yeah, I'm not rushing Connor out the door, obviously with Scottish quota, but I think, as the guys have said, tireless worker. He had I've seen him with a bit more responsibility in the forward areas at Aberdeen. Obviously yet to score his first goal for Rangers, but had a worldie or two in his pocket at Aberdeen. But yeah, I'd hope to see him make that next step at Rangers, hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Connor.
Cool. We're gonna stay in our identical midfield with you, Andrew. We are going to go to Mohamed Diamande. Again, someone who, I mean, like pretty much every player that we had, an inconsistent season, let's say. Featured plenty for us. Had some games where he looked effective. Had, I think, more games where he looked like he was being passed by a little in some of these games. For me, though, again, someone who I think is a good, reliable player. You'd maybe be looking to see someone coming in who could supplant him, or complement him a bit better. It's been something we've commented on plenty this season, that we have a number of players who will play very similar positions. So, yeah, I'm on the fence. I'd probably be inclined to keep him, but I don't know where you sit on that one, Andrew.
Again, it's two sides of the coin. When Dio's good, he should be on many a team's transfer target list, and when he's awful, we can't even warm the bench. It's a very frustrating player to watch times, because he has the ability. He has, by all means, I'm just getting angry and flustered talking about Dio, which is nothing against the guy. He's a great guy, and I love him to bits when he's good. But there's so many times he makes a wee silly mistake, and you go, you don't have to do that. You could have thought of another way to try and reach that goal. Like, the amount of times I see him be dispossessed because he tries to do that wee spin off of players, taking the contact and spin off, when you can easily he has the ability to pop the ball off as soon as the ball comes to him, to just play it away straight away. Doesn't need to take 8 touches to get a ball under. He's solid with it, but he insists on, I'm going to do a nice wee spin here, and then I'm going to lay it off there. And then when he tries to do the spin, he takes the contact, he goes down, and the ref don't give it. It's those ones that I had my head in my hands with this season. And I was hoping, as it would go on, somebody in the coaching staff and the manager would put an arm around him and just go, "You're better than that. Just simplify it. Do the basics. You can do it brilliantly." And it's the times in games he does it, it's locations he does it, and that ends up to us losing a goal, losing a game, and then that helps us nothing over a season. A lost game puts us back tenfold, and everything that he does good is completely overshadowed by a loss. So yeah, remarkably talented player. The way he applies it, God knows.
So what we're saying is we need to get Connor Barron's brain inside Dio's body. Nothing problematic about that. Calvin,
No,
Amrit, I'm gonna
no,
let
you need to get my foot up Dio's arse. That's what you need.
Right, I'm going to let
Right?
you guys talk about this for a second. I have to step away for a
Dio-
second. I'm going to let you guys have a chat, okay? I'll be right back. But carry on, please.
Right, Dio. Oh no, I mean I agree with a few things that you said there, Andrew, but I disagree with the majority of it. Dio goes for me. He's just not consistent enough. The thing is, if you're going to keep Barron, Chukwueze, and Raskin, you don't really need Dio. I think you get rid of Dio and you replace Dio with a more attack-minded, flair, creative type midfielder. I think you've got to try and break up that quartet of 4 players that are all the bloody same, all doing the same bloody job, but none of them doing it particularly well. So for me, I'd say he's probably the worst of the bunch, and I would get rid of Dio. Calvin?
I don't know if you think about a statement. I seen signs of Kamara in Diomande when he came in, but he hasn't improved that much since he came in. I think that's the best way to look at it. He had that similar kind of style, the turn, they take the ball under pressure, but Kamara developed really, really quickly. Whereas Dio's kind of just saturated, stayed where he is. He makes really rash decisions at really important times that can cost us massively. He has his good games. The weird thing is his good games tend to be in the big games. But in the general, 75-80% of the season, he can go missing massively. And we can't have that. And I think the big thing for me with Diomande is if we keep him much longer, you lose his value. Where you could still probably get something from at this early kind of stage. For me, I'd let him go if the right offer's there. I agree with you there, Amrit. There's too many similar midfielders. We need somebody to come in there that's totally different, who has a bit more about them that means they can play 70 to 80% of the games all the time and they're a 7 or 8 out of 10 every single one of those weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones where myself, I'm on the fence. Like, I don't know, because so much of it depends on who else stays. As you say, Amrit, if we've got 3 other players there who play that same position, then maybe he's down the pecking order for it. It's an interesting one, especially in light of a player I'm going to come on to now. And Calvin, I'm going to come to you first on it. Lyle Cameron. Obviously wasn't with us for a chunk of the season as well. But he's under contract with us until 2029. So there's a decision to be made there, whether it's a case that Danny Roll just doesn't fancy him. If Lyle Cameron reckons he can outweight Danny Roll staying at Rangers, who knows? But it's one of those ones where, again, he fulfills that similar role to me that all the rest of our midfielders fulfill, so it's a difficult one to argue for him, especially when I think we've not really seen an awful lot of him in a Rangers jersey.
And once again, it's one of those strange ones for me. You've seen the kind of reports about him being good at Dundee. It was very good goal contributions. That's what brought him to Rangers. Like, his contribution at Dundee was very, very good. But does he outplace anybody in the team that we should have on the park? That's how I would look at Lyle Cameron. I haven't seen enough of him. Didn't get enough time in a Rangers jersey. I wasn't going to be watching where he was playing in the second half of the season that much, out with some highlights. It's a tough one. He's a young Scottish player that probably needs a chance. He probably needs another loan move, to be fair, because I don't see him breaking into that team anytime soon. And without seeing enough of him this season, it's hard to give too much other than that. Tidy player. Will he kind of improve us? I don't think so. That's the reality of it. I don't think long-term he's somebody that's a mainstay in that Rangers team. So for me, put him out on loan, potentially, see how he goes. If there is some interest, we might need to just cash in on it before we lose the value again. That's where I am with Lyle Cameron. Potential, but I don't think we'll see it at Rangers.
Cool. Andrew, I'm going to come to you first, mate.
Strange one. I thought when he was at Dundee, he was a real talent. At Rangers, I mean, it's a completely different world. Being a star at Dundee to breaking into the Rangers team, and all that progress you make, that then all of a sudden is you're right back at the start when you move, because the quality around you at Rangers is tenfold higher than it is at Dundee, and I say that with no disrespect, but that's how it is. Competitions you play in, you get a chance at Europe. we disgraced ourselves in Europe this year, but we try and progress past the group stages and go into knockout football. Is he ready for that? I think, as Calvin said, I don't know if we'll see the best of Leo Cameron in a Rangers shirt, but probably has a bright future in the game from a Scottish perspective. But is he going to influence our starting 11 next season? Probably not. Alone, I agree with Calvin, probably the best option. But then you're into a whole argument of where do you lose him again? Aberdeen seemed to be good for them, but again, Aberdeen had an awful season, so you're talking about a good player and a bad team. Trying to find something that works for him will be interesting.
Don't know if that's one that you go for Killy again and see if you can do the same thing that you did for Finlay Curtis. Amrit, where are you at?
Mate, yeah, I mean, end of the day, if you can sell him, sell him. If not, put him out on loan. I mean, mate, this is the thing with this squad. It's not keyhole surgery that this squad needs. It's a living fucking autopsy that we have to perform on this squad. We need to cut the deadwood. We need to be ruthless and just cull the shite. As simple as that, and just gut it from start to finish, empty it, and then just start again. Just as a general point, out of the 22 players we've got, I'd keep 10 and I'd get rid of the rest on loans or sell them. That's really where I am with the whole squad, because they just piss me off. Sorry.
No, it's good, Amrit. There is a reason that I've come to you next, because one of your very favourite players is up next. Hello, Asgard.
Ooh, let the dogs out! Ooh, 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 ooh. Right, I know. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, the floor is yours, Amrit. I'm not gonna interfere in this.
I know after I got back from Ferencvaros, I described him as an Alsatian who runs around in circles looking for somewhere to take a shite. And I stand by that. But do you know what? I'm just going to be controversial on here, and I am going to get assassinated in the comments for saying this. I believe that if Thelo Asgard applies himself the same way that Connor Barron does, with the same work ethic, the same engine, the same attitude, you combine that with Thelo Asgard's talent, Thelo Asgard has the potential to be the player of the year next season. Boom! Discuss. There you go. Mic drop. Eh? Let the hate commence. Let the hate commence.
We're here to cut out the shite. We're no point in dealing with it, so we'll cut out the shit in Alsatian. Just say he's not going to handle the pressure of playing for Rangers. Up the road. See you later. Goodbye, Asgard.
Oh, I'm devastated. Heartbroken.
I like Tello.
Of course you do, Andrew.
I feel this is the corner I seem to sit in quite a lot. Now, by no means am I looking at match worn shirt for Norway tops over the World Cup period, but and again, it says a lot about our team. And again, you've probably got so many more character questions than talent questions, because he can strike a ball, he can drive by players, but he shrinks when it gets tough, and that's the issue for him being at Rangers. He could probably be a star player, as we've seen down south in Championship. He needs to take a massive step in character development and understanding that you're never going to have an easy game at Rangers. Cheers, Andrew, for the offer. You're never going to have an easy game at Rangers. And until he learns that, he's not worth being at Rangers. But talented boy, good dribbler, can strike a ball, but too many character problems.
Yeah, I'd get rid of him.
I wanted to see if you could bring up the bow and arrow picture of him the day with Norway. I think that would have been a better picture for
that involves an awful lot of work there, Andrew, and I think you've known me long enough to know that is absolutely not what I'm in the market
broadcasting
here for.
Your browser is probably worrying enough, to be fair, isn't it?
I'm on a knife edge here, man. You know, there's so much that could go wrong here so quickly. So
he's on Mozilla. He's safe. Remember, he's on the Firefox.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Right. Yeah. For me, I think if we're looking to cut the dead weight, for me, Asgard does not look like a player who's going to make it with us. Sorry to do this to Amrit, but again, you know, if we could perform some kind of brain surgery on him and put a different player's mind in there, then, you know, maybe you get someone better. But the technology is not there yet. Next up, then, Andrew, I'm going to stay with you for this one, which I think may be a quick one, but I don't know. And that is Nadima Bayrami.
Sell. Right, what's Calvin's thoughts?
Had his chance. If he was going to make it, he'd have done it by now. Good night. See you later, Nadeem the Dream.
Agree.
19
Next.
appearances. Yeah.
I spent so
okay.
much time making that bloody graphic when he started at Rangers, and he's absolutely shat the bed since then. It annoys me.
So it's your fault.
It's always my fault. It's always my fault.
19 appearances, but he's still got less minutes than Dujon Sterling. That probably says enough right
But
there.
he scored a penalty at Dundee United in a game we still didn't win. That was the thing that annoys me about that game. Him in that celebration in front of the Dundee United keeper he scored a penalty into. A, he didn't score against him in open play. And B, we still didn't win the bloody game. Which
That was the
means
point
it's
that day.
completely irrelevant.
Mhm.
I missed that penalty because I left about 89 minutes. I was like, I can't watch this shite. So I left. By the time I got back to the car, he'd scored the penalty.
I was away abroad on work and I sat in the only place that had Wi-Fi to watch that game, and I wish I had done absolutely anything else with my evening because it was a waste of time.
Mind you, McGoma's goal was an absolute belter. Mind, he hit it for the halfway line just about. So that was a good goal.
Trying to
that
be
day.
Kamar Roof. Shocking.
Yeah. Right, who's next?
Right. Gonna love this one. Calvin, we'll come to you for first opinions. Jerry Gassama. Let's say a player who has had an inconsistent season with us. Occasionally looked very promising, occasionally looked completely lost, played on the right far more often than he did on the left here, which is bizarre to me because he's never looked good on the right, apart from like one game. So it's a difficult one for me because I think undeniably he's got talent. I don't know if it's a question of he was being forced to play in a position that does not work for him because we had Mikey Moore who could play there instead. Where are you at on him, Calvin?
Strange one. Was about the only shining light in the Russell Martin kind of era at the start. He was very good in Europe to begin with and then just totally disappeared. Like we said, don't know if that came down to the tactics where even Mikey Moore, the rumour was he wanted to go back to Spurs at the midpoint because they weren't allowed to attack, essentially. They were asked to do kind of work back, not really get on the ball too much. Strange one. A player that should deliver more than what he does, but as you'll probably think now, he'll be a player that will be remembered for a celebration against Falkirk. That'll be kind of about it. And potentially how sad he looked in the pictures the day in the kit when it was released. For me, if the offer's there, I'd take it because I just don't think he's a player that's going to provide constantly numbers for the kind of wide area. He'll be good in spells. I just don't think he's got the attitude to kind of stay as a Rangers player. And I think you've seen it a lot. He was very kind of huffy throughout the season when he lost the ball, wasn't wanting to work back, the arms went up, and that's not a Ranger for me. It doesn't matter if you're kind of losing the ball, you're always working back in, you're fighting for the team, and I just don't think he's a player that's got that in him.
Amrit, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, I'm with Calvin on that. It's hard with Jedi Gassama. There's talent there, but I think he needs an attitude adjustment as well. I'm just not sure he's cut out to be a Rangers player. He was spending all his time on the floor and hands in the hair and complaining about decisions and being a bit huffy. And yeah, I think he's a luxury that we can't afford. I think if somebody gives me 10 million, I'm taking it and saying, right, on your way. I think there's better out there. I think you can get more value for your money than Jedi Gassama for me, I would say.
Andrew?
He's subtly had I think 3 goals more than Ryan Kent did in some of the best of Kent seasons in terms of Kent looked really good on the ball when he could dribble by and drive to goal and try and just give defence a tough time. And Gassama can do that, but the main thing about Kent is he's brilliant, but we need 10 goals, we need a good handful of assists here, and he'll be an absolute star. And he never did it in any of his time at Rangers. And that, £7 million looked foolish at the end. You get 7 for Jerry, I'd sell. Because I feel that if he doesn't have a good season next year and he goes on a stroppy huff, he'll ride the bench and then he'll be worth even less than that. So I think it's you try and sell an upside to a team and you sell.
Yeah. I'm going to come on to another one of our wingers. I think someone will have a stronger and I think happier view on, and that is Finlay Curtis. Obviously wasn't with us second half of the season. Could point at that and say it was a mistake. His goals would have been, I think, useful for us at times. 35 appearances in total. That includes his time at Killy, obviously. Andrew, where are you at on Finlay Curtis? For me, he is a player who he should be a first teamer next season. I think if we want to see any kind of progression through the academy into the first team, that's exactly the type of player that we need to be encouraging and giving the opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown that he's good on the ball, but the key, again, as we stated for a number of players so far that we think are worth giving our time to, is that he works hard. He works tirelessly for the team. He wants the team to win. It certainly helps when you support us, obviously. But also taking that challenge of going on loan at his own request and having the second half of the season that he did. Brilliant for the lad, and he's 100% earned that Scotland call up for himself, because, I mean, as we said, wouldn't have had it if he was sitting on the bench at Rangers. You need to get behind him, though. I think if there's going to be a full pre-season and he starts games at the start of next season, if it doesn't go brilliantly immediately, you need to stand by him, because he's still a young lad, and it's going to be his real second sniff at full-team football at Premiership level for us, and then you're going to go through European qualifiers again. Stick with him, because he's shown that when you give him trust and give him game time, he can produce. So he's someone that I think we really just need to get behind, and we'll see the best out of him.
Yep, don't disagree with any of that. Amrit, come to you first.
Yeah, no doubt. Finlay Curtis is a very talented football player, and he absolutely will feature as a Rangers first team player. The question is, what does Danny Rule do with him? Does he keep him and play him as his first choice? Because if he doesn't choose to play him and deploy him as first choice, or give him at least, in my opinion, 30 games in a season, then you're better off loaning him out so he can get the time. Because look at the development in just a number of months at Kilmarnock, getting first team football regular week to week, featuring in the league. His talent exploded exponentially because of that exposure. If we then bring him back to Ibrox for him to sit and rot and waste away on a bench, then we've effectively devalued our own asset. So it all depends on how Danny Rule sees Finlay Curtis's career, because only he will know. Does he feel that Finlay Curtis would benefit from another 6 months on loan or another year and then you bring him back? Or does he think he's ready to go into the first team now? But I would hate to see Finlay Curtis stay and rot on the bench, because that would be a huge own goal in our respect. I think you get him back and you guarantee him that 30, 35 games a season. He might not necessarily be a starter all the time, but you've got to give him that exposure if you're going to keep him. If you're not, then you loan him. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. But what a talent. There's no question in my mind that one day, I don't know when that day will come, but one day he will be a shoo-in starter for Rangers on the right wing, because he's a supremely talented, great application, great attitude. He's a Rangers boy, Rangers family. He's exactly the type of profile of player that we need in our squad and around the building.
I think that's the thing. Calvin, I'm going to come to you to get your thoughts, but he's the type of player who we would look at in this league and go, he's a promising young player. It'd be really good if we could get him. The fact that he is our player is exactly why I think he's one of those. If we want to be building a Scottish core of players, he's absolutely one of those players who I want to see as being part of that.
I think it's simple. You've seen how he's performed. I said it last week. I thought after he went on loan, he did so much better than every single player that was kind of left there, if maybe Kimura. For me, if he comes back, he's got to play. Like, I think it's hard to kind of get somebody that's going to get better numbers and understand what it is like playing for Rangers. You've seen time and time again, players come into this squad and struggle every single time. He's a player that kind of thrived as he was coming through. I remember at Old Trafford, I was in the Man U end watching him and celebrating as he was running through. He was outstanding that night. Real kind of showed so much maturity for a player that young. We've seen him play. We've seen him score goals. And I think getting put into the Scotland World Cup squad will be massive for his confidence. For me,
Yeah.
get him in there and get him playing. Doesn't mean he needs to start every single game, but he should be a regular starter in that team. He should be somebody that we can throw our hat on and say he's going to deliver. And as you said to Amrit, attitude-wise, he's everything I want to see for a Ranger. He will go through brick walls for that team, and players will start to look up to him pretty fast, I think, with just how his attitude is. For me, get him back in the squad, get him playing, and let's get right behind the lad.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely in agreement with you on that one. Calvin, next up, Ollie Ant-Man. Oh, boy. Go ahead.
The strange thing is, when he came in, before Russell Martin got his hands on him, we thought we'd got a superstar. That's the strange thing, isn't it? He was very, very good in the European game before he got a few training sessions under his belt. Another player that's been hampered by injury, came at a decent fee before he came here. He was playing very well in the Dutch league. He was playing for a team that was punching way above their weight, and they won the Dutch Cup when he was at the Go Ahead Eagles. A player that I expected a lot more from. I think he's one of those players that, once again, is he a left-sided player, is he a right-sided? He was Finnish Player of the Year playing for the left, but unfortunately for him, Mikey Mills in front, and once again, Ant-Man picked up injury after injury. If there's an offer there, we can't hang our hat on him. So for me, he'd have to go if the right offer's there. He is a player that I think could come good, but we can't wait for players to come good. They need to be hitting the ground running right away. So that's where I'm with him. If we've got offers, consider them. If he's still here, I won't be disappointed, but providing that he actually is able to turn up and play on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yep, fair. Andrew, when it comes to you first, and then on to Amrit.
He's got another year to prove to me he's a Rangers player. I mean, as Calvin said, he had a superb season in the Eredivisie with Go Ahead. But to be cruel, which I try not to be, you know me, I try and give players the benefit of the doubt when they don't deserve it. That was a career year for him. I mean, I think he had something like 15 plus assists, 15 plus goal involvements in that season in Holland, and before that, the best thing he had in goal involvements in a season was about 6. So is that a flash in the pan kind of year where he's just a brilliant year, just the stars align, and we've backed a one season wonder, similar to Nadeem Bayrami, or is there a consistent potential player there that we can get the best out of? Haven't seen enough of him really in a blue shirt to tell you aye or no, because injury hampered his time. Next season needs to be make a break for him.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. Amrit?
I think you've got to look at what we've got in the door and in the building just now, because if we're getting rid of Bajrami, we're getting rid of McCausland, potentially Gassama as well, if we're looking at that, then all of a sudden you've only got Curtis and Ant-Man left as your wingers, and then you need another 2. One of them would have to be a shoe-in starter. So the question is, do you keep Ant-Man as a squad player? Is he a better squad player than Gassama, McCausland and Bajrami? That's really the question I think we're asking. So for me, I think you keep Ant-Man because I think he's shown enough in terms of his attitude that he in flashes. I like him more as a professional than the attitude of like Gassama, for instance, or Bajrami. So I would say out of them, I would be keeping Ant-Man and getting rid of the rest.
Sure. I think it's been interesting how often we come back to that mentality aspect of it, but it does show what was lacking from the squad last season. We're not doing a season review. We're not doing that, Stevie. But it is that thing of like, this is what was missing. This is what we needed more of. A player who I'm going to come on to next, I'm going to stick with you, Amrit. Someone who, again, who's got experience in the league, Bojan somebody who, again, I think looking very fresh-faced there as well. Someone who I think we had a lot of high hopes for because of our experiences with him playing against us, but never really delivered for us. I think in a consistent spell,
Mate, I'm not a fan. I must admit, I know it's quite controversial. I'll probably get a lot of hate in the comments. I'm not a fan of Bojan Miovski. Bojan Miovski at Aberdeen, all day long. I'd have taken him in a heartbeat. But Bojan Miovski for Rangers last season, I think there's better out there. I think there's better players in our league currently that we could go for. I'm not. I just don't see what Bojan Miovski brings to this team that we couldn't replace with some really basic fucking software or something. To be honest, let's just get rid and move on for me.
Okay. Calvin, I'm going to come to you next, mate.
It's a 50-50. If Bojan Miovski's happy to be the number 4 option, that's kind of where it's at. He's not going to be in front of Shankland. He's not going to be in front of Chermiti. Obviously, there is potentially offers going to come in for him, and he's not in front of Naderi. He's just maybe not the player that he was when he left Aberdeen. There's a reason why he wasn't getting football at Girona. There's a reason why he wasn't getting enough starting football for us. I just think he looked like he lost the confidence to play football. His biggest thing at Aberdeen was getting in behind and chasing behind. Though it looks like he was down the Land Rover most of the season, so I'm not that worried.
Cool. Andrew, come to you next.
Yeah, I don't think he has, did anything to argue that he can be a top 2 striker if we're going to play a 2-person front line or a one person striker formation. I don't think he did enough to say it's mine and you all have to chase me. If you're leaning on him to be a depth piece, similar to you had Morelos, Defoe, Ita, and Roof during the 55 season, by all means, if he's going to be a minimal minutes player, then I mean he showed he had like 7 goals in the league, I think 13 in all comps through the season. You can put the ball in the net, that's for sure. Obviously not at the same amount to put the ball in the net at Aberdeen, which is the annoying thing because that was a player that was advertised. If you hadn't gone and looked at his time in Spain. So yeah, I mean it all depends on what he wants for himself. If he wants a more consistent amount of games, then maybe he needs to move on from Rangers.
Yeah, I think that's broadly where I'm at with him as well. Hasn't shown enough for us in our Rangers jersey. I'm going to stick with you, Andrew, and we're going to go on to our penultimate player in the squad review, and that is Ryan Naderi, who I do not think is likely to be going anywhere, given that Danny Rowe just brought him in. For me, I think, as you said, if we are looking at playing with 2 up top next season, he, for me, is that player who's going to play in that similar role that Shankland will play in, where he'll sit behind the main striker and sort of help feed, help contribute, help set stuff up, help win the ball. I think he's going to be a really promising player for us. Again, got an injury at a really crap time, but definitely someone I'd be looking to keep. And I think he has shown flashes of promise. Just to be interested to see what he can do with a full preseason under his belt.
I certainly keep the Don. I like him. He's it's strange because it's the eye test with him for me. He traps the ball. He shields well. He can drive the ball. He's good control for a big man. I mean, there was a lot of question marks about, I don't know, the fee that we paid from Hansa Rostock for him, but definitely still a young lad. He could really mature. I think Shankland will be coming in with his notebook out and teaching some of these lads. I think that wouldn't do him any harm. Just to kind of be around him in pre-season. I don't know what Shankland's pre-season will be, mind you, with the World Cup. But just having somebody around like Shankland in-house that he can work off of, pick up these wee things, will help him in the long run. I mean, if he can find a few more goals this season than he had in that kind of spell, if he can stay fit, then I think he's a real talent, and one that will definitely be featured in this kind of player trading Mark II, where he'll be one that we'll be trying to upsell to another club, because I don't think he's ever going to be we're not a team that can have guys for like 10 years anymore. That's not the way football is. He'll be one that if we can have a good season with, and if he can bang in the goals on the way to titles, do well in Europe, puts himself in the shop window, and then we get a nice amount of millions in cash, and we do this whole rigmarole of buy low, sell high all over again.
You paint a beautiful picture there for me, Andrew. I'm very excited by it. I'm going to come to you last, so I'm going to I'm going to come to you next. I'm going to get Calvin last because Calvin's going to be the boy who's going to introduce the next player. But Amrit, your thoughts on Ryan Nadiri?
I like Ryan Nadiri, Andrew. I must admit, I think when he was featuring for us, we were a very different animal. The press worked a lot more effectively. He's very industrious. He works hard. He's got a good engine. You felt after about 60 or 70 minutes, he really started to blow out his backside in a lot of games. So I think he needs a pre-season. I think he needs a couple of months with his teammates and to get embedded into this team. But he's shown all the skills and attributes that I think are valuable and that are Rangers' DNA. For me, yes, we know he needs to score more goals, but let's remember he wasn't really in the team to do that. He was that industrious sort of behind the striker type to get the press and then allow, because the thing is as well, with him, if you watched how he played, a lot of the time he was running into space to create more space for other players to run into. It was almost like he was a sacrificial lamb at times that, okay, I'll go this way and I'll take two guys with me and you can run into the gap and you can get the glory. So there's a lot more to Ryan Nadiri's game than meets the eye, but I genuinely think that he's there to contribute. I think he'll do well for us. He needs to work on his fitness, in my opinion. I think that might just be a timing issue. I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't playing enough from where he came from. But I think if he gets his fitness up, he's definitely got the skills and attributes in the application that we'll see that he's a success this season. I think him interacting with, if you say Shanks is going to be your number one guy, Chermiti and him rotating around Shankland, I think is a good option and a nice balance to have.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think one of these players who looks like he's been signed with a view towards next season. It's not like we're just getting him in temporarily. It was very much an investment for the future, Calvin. Still young, plenty of time to learn, and it's got a hell of a player to learn off of in Lawrence Shankland as well.
Yeah, I like Nadiri. I think you need to remember they came into the German third division, and the realistic situation was the reason why we pushed the ball out and got him in January is because the loan deals for the players down south fell through because the goalpost changed. We had to get him in. I really like the look of him. He reminds me of that kind of Tam Muller's type kind of German striker where he drops into space, he creates the space for other strikers. And Chermiti looked like a far better player next to Nadiri. I think the amount of games we play, Shankland, Chermiti, Nadiri, and then potentially the fourth, you'll rotate them a lot. You'll have your kind of mainstay, but everybody's going to get game time. And with the rate we pick up injuries, we need the players to be ready. So for me, Nadiri's a no-brainer. Looks like the type of player we need to have in the squad. Can still develop, and he kind of meets the requirements of the team that he can work for each other. So for me, no-brainer. Keep him.
Cool. Yeah. I'm right there with you, mate. I'm going to stay with you, Calvin, and we're going to come to the final player of our squad review, which is, we're making up for the short pods that we've done recently. Hour and 15 already. This is good. This is content, lads. But we're going to come to the final player in our squad review, and that is Yusuf Chermiti. Look at that fresh-faced young man. Fair to say a player who has had doubters throughout the season, popped up with some magnificent goals, had some games in which he looked completely anonymous. Again, a young player, always going to have the anchor around his neck of that fee that we paid for him. But if things go a little bit differently last season, then he's absolutely justified it already. And again, like other folk have said, I still think we will make money on him because looking at the numbers, you'd say 41 appearances, 15 goals, 5 assists. Doesn't look too bad for a debut season. Do you think he's going to improve with better players around him? Then potentially there's more of a ceiling there. And what I will say to bring it back full circle even is the fact that we've talked a lot about mentality and we've talked a lot about, wanting to see desire. The one thing I'll never criticize Chermiti for is that I always saw that desire from him. Even when he was having an absolute stinker, he'd still look and try and get involved in stuff. So for me, he's a keep.
I'd keep him, but I have a funny feeling we might get some good offers in for Chermiti this summer just because of how he finished the season. He developed really quickly, towards the end. Like the first quarter of the season, he looked like a basketball player. It looked like his legs were too long for his body sometimes because he just looked lost a lot of time. But I think that came down to just how negative the team was playing at that stage. And he definitely got into it. And he's got those kind of moments of magic, like we spoke about, the overhead kick, the flicks. His goals have came in kind of bundles towards the end. He's one of those frustrating players because you want him to deliver it all the time. But like we spoke about before, we forget how young he is in terms of football. Yes, he's kind of 21, which we don't consider a young player, but it's also only his proper first team football. So that will come, and it will come with playing better players, systems that are suited him. Like we said, Nadiri helped him. He was one of those players that when he played as a 2, we got so much more from him. Whereas when he played as the lone striker, he just looked isolated, and he did get drift out of the kind of centre of the box, which then takes away that focal point striker. I think, like most of us, we hope to see him next season because I think he is developing at a very good rate and he will kind of make his money long term. But I'm in that camp of if the big money offer comes in, we can't say no. And I have a feeling there could be something that comes in.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to come to you next because you love defending a controversial player. So your thoughts on Yusuf Chermiti?
I'm not going to push the boat out then, because if you want me to be positive about a player, then I'll be positive about a player. Portugal squad's only got...
There's no like top-down influence here. I'm not telling folk to have certain opinions. I want your unvarnished truths. I couldn't script what Amrit comes out with, for example. So like, there's no way I'm telling you guys what to say.
The Portugal squad that was announced for this World Cup, in my opinion, has only 2 out-and-out strikers in it. And it's Gonçalo Ramos and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, you can argue till you've blown in the face that João Felix is a striker, an out-and-out striker. And if you said that, I'd say you're an idiot. Because he isn't. He has so much better attributes somewhere else that isn't just an out-and-out striker. So, given the fact this is Ronaldo's last World Cup, unless he just continues to be carted out in Saudi Arabia and Portugal can't be asked with giving him the use of a cap at international level, I honestly think a season where he continues a goal tally, which he was picking up towards the end, does better in Europe because we were dreadful in Europe. He played 8 games and scored none, but we were all bad during that run. If he has a season like that, there's absolutely no reason why he can't be featuring in Portugal squads for qualifiers for the next Euros. And then he's still a young lad, so down the line, he 100% needs to set the bar that high for himself. Our part in that's going to be very little, in my opinion. I think if he has a great season, this season ahead, he'll be off, and we'll be raking in the dough for him. I wouldn't be surprised, as Calvin said, that there isn't a nice offer going to come in this summer because of the way that season ended and his highlight reel in that season. And this is the thing, I know there's a lot of people angry about, like, you know, the 8,000th version of a player who maybe didn't have a great season putting up their goals highlights video on their Instagram. But this helps in today's modern game. That's the way it is. These guys love to have, look at this goal I scored. And do you want to know why it works? Because it's exactly what we do when we sign somebody. Such and such skills and highlights, YouTube. It's the first thing you do when we sign somebody. So them doing it themselves is brilliant. 4D chess, brilliant marketing for him in the future. A good season ahead, and the sky's the limit for that boy. All the flack that we threw at him this past season, and he's not ended up in a psychiatric ward having a mental breakdown. He's shown he's got more nettle than I thought he did.
Okay. Amrit, final word to you, my friend.
Listen, I'm with the guys. I think Chermiti, you keep absolutely. If Chermiti stays fit this season, he'll give us 25 goals. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And at that rate, once he's scoring 25 goals in the SPFL, and like Andrew said, a couple of goals in Europe, all of a sudden his value, you're up at 25, 30 million and more potentially if the spotlight's on him. So I think you keep him, unless we're getting a really healthy offer, you keep Yusuf Chermiti because I think he's going to give us 25 goals. I really do.
Cool. No, I like it. See, we're ending on an optimistic note, folks, and you all thought this was going to be depressing tonight. But I think by my count, we need another left back, 2 centre backs, a right back, at least 2 midfielders, 2 wingers, a couple of strikers as well. See, like 12 players or so. Oh, no, keeper as well. And we need a keeper as well. Yeah. So, yeah, just an entire first 11. There we go. That's what we need. So we've answered the question. We know what we need.
But everybody watching this knew that before we did the squad review. So how much good have we actually done? I've 90 minutes of my life that I'm not going to get back telling people what they already fucking know. I mean, that's insane.
Do not look behind the curtain, okay?
Comment of the season. More injuries than Stevie Wonder's big toe.
Exactly.
What happened
be
at
without
Amrit's
that.
work today? That's what I have to figure out. What happened at Amrit's work, and he came on with... There was positivity, but it was matched by a venom I've never seen before. And this was pay-per-view stuff tonight, folks.
That's what Rangers last season did to everybody. Created anger.
There it is. Listen, folks, it has been a pleasure. I mean, if nothing else, it's always good to chat with my friends about Rangers and other such nonsense for an hour and a half. So I want to thank all of you guys. I want to thank everyone who's watching, listening, commenting along. If you haven't, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Helps the podcast grow. We're already at 13,000 subscribers. I didn't even think we'd get to 5,000 this year. So, I know nothing, clearly. That's been proved multiple times, not just on this podcast. It has been a pleasure, genuinely has. No idea what we're going to talk about next Friday, but I believe we'll have some football going on. So, maybe we'll talk about that. And I want to thank everyone out there watching, listening, all that stuff. And I want to thank my three lovely co-hosts. Andrew, first of all, my friend, thank you so much.
Cheers for having me on again, mate. Bit sad you didn't have your hat on tonight, and I went with something a bit more normal than the pink flamingo bucket hat, which was a good source of negativity in comments last week. But a good chat with the lads again.
I had the hat ready. I just forgot to put it on. It's a Yankees cap, so it's not exactly significant, but it is a 1999 World Series Yankees cap, so not your everyday one. Just had that there, ready in the back pocket if I needed to pull it out. Calvin, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my friend.
I'll keep it short and simple. Thanks for having us. I'm going to get the decks on and try and pick my spirits up because that was a grind. So tune in for some guys.
I'm glad I can do my work to lift everyone's spirits. I guess just going through Rangers is always going to do that for you. Amrit, again, your enthusiasm, your negativity, all of it together has been great tonight. So thank you so much, my friend.
No, it was an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you. I felt like it was a counselling session, that we were all there to support one another. And, grief is shared. So it's nice that we all had one another to lean on. But listen, we've identified where the deficiencies are in the squad. So I'm probably oversimplifying now. We just need to go out and correct them. And it's easier said than done. I get that. But I'm quite excited at the prospects that could come through the door now. And I'm also excited at the ones that we're keeping and seeing how they develop in the next 12 months. So let's go, Rangers.
There we go. I knew we'd come back to it. Folks, again, always say it, but it's a pleasure and a privilege to do this. So thank you all so very much. Stay tuned. We're going to have some good stuff. The Sunday show is going to be back this weekend. And then into Monday, I'm sure Stevie and Kenny will scrape up something to have a chat about. And we'll go from there. Thanks you again, folks. It has been a pleasure. And until we talk to you again, bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.